Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. No, it's not an error on your screen. You're seeing one and the only Professor Bryan Fulford coming in as a guest lecturer, as he does it on the Sports Wrap with Bryan and AD, as well as hosting ONG, that is Orange and Green, as they get it done. And they have a lot to talk about over there in FAMU, but we're going to bring him over here and make sure he says some love with us. So before we get into the real introduction, Bryan, how you doing?
I'm blessed to be here. Thank you for the opportunity, Doc. I always love to come in.
Oh, appreciate having you. I see somebody else over there smiling. Professor Bishop, it must have been a good day on the iron. I mean, on the golf course there with the iron.
Oh, no, it's always a great day on the golf course, but you know, it's cold and rainy today. I'm just enjoying my HBCU journalist brethren. We're having a lot of fun today. And you know, when these text messages and these chats get going, it's pretty funny, you know. So it's my guy Neely, boy, I tell you, he keeps one laughing. So
no doubt about it. Tell Neely we say what's up. We're gonna have him back on here for too long because he is pure comedy. With that being said, welcome to episode 202 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small. From NEIA to the NCAA, we share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Mike Washington is out on assignment. I think he's cheating and prepping for the PV homecoming. I didn't say that live. Did I say that live? Well, anyway, we're filming from our home studios and send a signal live to K-Sway's 12:30 a.m. studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper. He's back from covering the Major League Baseball College World Series. Shout out to Charles. That's all you're going to get from me, Charles. Leave it like it is. In a beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. Today's episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THA Agency LLC. THA Agency is a company that provides sporting and educational consulting and data analytics. With that, you know, usually I go to you all to talk about some news of the day, but we discussed this pre-show, and if you allow me to jump in here to say a couple of things, but to read what I think is an important statement in terms of the news of the day. Before I do that, I'd be remiss if I didn't get out there and show some lab love, if you would, to our lab lecture listeners out there coming in here. We have Anthony Weston says, "What's up, everybody?" Reginald Johnson, present and accounted for inside the HBCU lab. # scholars with the black and old gold. That's what we do. I like that. That's what I'm talking about. Phillips is in here. I Love 2021 SWAC champs is here. Man, can we play the game first? I understand. Melinda Johnson, speaking into existence. Some other folks gonna say not so fast though. Dwight Moore says time to compress the analytics with the hip hop. Go Jag. Yes, sir. We're gonna put it together. Chad Cooper. He says, good evening, professors. Yes, indeed. William E. Davis. Michael Lee is in the house. What's up, Mike? He's out there. He always giving the business over there in the MEAC fan zone. He has me rolling and laughing. Good stuff, Michael Lee, as well as giving some hope to Tennessee State in a lot of ways. Who else we got? Ricky Burton's in the house. We in the lab, baby. Yes, we are. William E. Davis says, strike, and strike again. Yeah, we got your one of your individuals on here. We're going to ask them some questions about that matchup in Southern for the second half of the show. That should be good. Go Jags, we're serving up black and steak this weekend. Are we really? Michael D. Jones back finally shows up back into the lab.
Oh!
Thought he was hiding a little bit from
he was gone.
Man, lab time, Noel Price. Just kidding, Mike D. Jones. I know you about the business. A.D. Drew, Bryan Fulford representing Sports Rap. Yes, he is. Chad Cooper says, Jags ready to play spoiler for the last 3 weeks. All right. I can feel that. Steve Gaither says FAMU was doing some striking. I heard. Yeah, very much so. Belinda Johnson, and that could be striking in terms of the volleyball court. They getting it down there. Charles, you know I'm going to rub you in there. You couldn't wait for that first matchup. I ain't heard you since.
I know, right?
Payback there. You got radio silence. Belinda Johnson says, this is awesome SWAC football season. Yes, it is. Phillips, strike. Oh, he said psych again. Oh, my goodness. With that being said, let me read this statement. I think it's worth our time. This is coming out of the MEAC. Norfolk, Virginia, as you know, November 4th was the release date. The Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference's, quote, Elite Eight aren't going anywhere. I love it. The conference realignment chatter in college athletics is not going going away anytime soon, and neither is speculation about what it could possibly mean for the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, better known as the MEAC. Through it all, what is clear from Coppin State University President Dr. Anthony Jenkins to South Carolina State University President Colonel Alexander Conyers is the unanimous resolve of the presidents and chancellors of the 8 of the preeminent HBCUs in the country to represent the MEAC. The MEAC Councils of Chief Executive Officers is wholly committed to sustaining the legacy of its storied conference, promoting a bright future for their student athletes, alumni, and the entire HBCU community. It is because of this solidarity that each leader has expressed a resolute desire to not only maintain their affiliation with the MEAC, but also to continue to enhance its profile and value. The council's chairman and North Carolina Central University Chancellor, Dr. Johnson Akinley, said the story of HBCU, quote, the story of HBCUs across the country remains one of access and opportunity. Taken together, we believe that the MEAC and our sister conference offer the best return on investment in Division I college sports, collegiate sports. We graduate more students from low resource backgrounds. We have greater rates of economic and social mobility. We are a great resource to the community we serve, and we are compete on and off the field of play, end quote. For more than 50 years, the MEAC legacy has been one of academic and athletic excellence, producing leaders in society through our dedication to working closely with our member institutions, provide opportunities for student athletes to excel in college and beyond. Council Vice Chair and President of the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, Dr. Heidi Anderson, commented, quote, the collaborative partnership between our schools is the key to our success and extends into every aspect of what we do. Whether I'm competing with Coppin or Morgan on the hardwood or taking up an important issue on the hill, we are doing it all together, end quote. We honor the tenure of our Commissioner, Dr. Dennis E. Thomas, and look forward to our future guided by the strategic vision of Commissioner-elect Sonia Steele. Search Committee Chair and Delaware State University President, Dr. Tony Allen said, quote, there is nowhere else we would rather be. The MEAC is on strong financial footing, has deepened relationship with a number of iconic brands, and has seen both the academic prowess of our student and sense of moral obligation to the world around them grow exponentially, end quote. Norfolk State University President, Dr. Javon Adams Gatson added, quote, champion citizens and scholars. We're building something different here, and that is not going to change, end quote. Preserving the affiliation of our 8 outstanding member institutions is the utmost important as we also explore conference expansion to include other institutions that reflect our values. President Dr. Wayne Frederick of Howard University, President Dr. Heidi Anderson of UMass, Maryland Eastern Shore, and President Dr. David Wilson of Morgan State University are leading a committee with expansion in mind. With that, Charles, what are your thoughts on that statement?
Strong. What caught my eye was I was looking for a statement from all, 8 member conferences, but they got statements out of 5 out of 8. But I think to your point, and we were talking about it before the cameras came on, you made a very interesting point in terms of with regards to conference tournament, where do you turn to? I mean, if you're in that business of looking to potentially go somewhere, where is a viable landing spot? And it's just not there. So I thought that was a very interesting point that I would love for our lab listeners to really hear you expound on that, because I think that's a very, very viable topic that we're getting into. And really, you know, when you take a look at it, where do you go? I hadn't really stopped and really kind of put that into context.
Yeah, and the reason I bring that up, and I'm gonna go to you, Bryan, to get your thoughts on this, but since you asked that framework, you know, we talked about this before, that sometimes we have to be in terms of us as African-American and Black people because of what has taken place in this country. And therefore our institutions, when I say our institution, I'm talking about Black institutions that serve that particular community, open to everybody, but serve the uniqueness of their community based on the historical nature of this country. And you can't just wash that away over a period of time and act that everything is fine now, specifically what we know what's going on. So you get into this framing, as we say in the academic arena, this proximity to whiteness. Well, when I talk about that in a lot of ways, what I'm saying resolutely in this place is, if you really look at the landscape, all of it is changing. So it is not like you're going to go to a foundational place that is safe and sound. You know, you have the reports about CIAA. Yes, they are looking for somebody, but why are they looking for somebody? Yes, they talk about the need to be regionally sound, but they have a member leaving, conference churning. Now you have reports of the Southland saying that they may churn and take some people out of the CIAA, or the CIAA may look at the Southern Conference. So they have some issue there. There were some of the folks in terms of one being the HBCU, Hampton, looked at saying the reports suggesting that they might want Hampton, but they also looked at the historically white college, Kennesaw State, which means now Big South is back in flux. We see that the change with Jacksonville State, that was supposed to be all in at the ASUN, that they were going FBS to join Conference USA with Sam Houston State out of the WAC. So now those conferences are in flux. We see what is taking place with supposedly 2 teams leaving the Southland, which now will bring them down to 4, plus the Division II that's reconstituting itself in terms of football, and 6, 7 in terms of basketball. OVC, we see what's going on there. So nowhere that you're going is going to provide you some safe net. So what is the rush to go there, other than you think that being in a collective with Black institutions is inferior, which is what we talk about, the proximity to whiteness. Now, if you can give me another framing outside of that, that shows that the other places are solid and foundational, that's different, but that's not the case. We just showed that evidently without boring you anymore with that framework. Bryan, what are your thoughts when you hear this statement, or then in terms of my comments as well?
No, I love the way you framed that and love the way you broke that down. I'm happy that the MEAC didn't drop that release on Friday afternoon. I mean, it needed a full day, you know. It didn't need to be a Friday news dump. It needed a full day. So, like you said, sometimes the best move is to do nothing. And being solid and showing solidarity has power behind it. It shows that, yes, we had some people who left. Okay, fine. But we're here, we're together, while everybody else around is scrambling, looking. Eventually, they're going to look over and say, wow, the MEAC, you thought they were going to be dead in the water, but look, they're still standing. Mm. And from a football perspective, they still have this contract tie-in with ESPN and this bowl game. So, you know, something that can generate money, not take money out of our coffers. That looks pretty impressive, you know. So I think they're standing in a place of strength.
Bryan, specifically when you look at the fact that that's a new contract. It's extended 6 years. So that's not something that you have to worry about at least for 4 or 5 years. And that's whether you're going to extend it again. And that's beyond the year 2 that you have left on it. So that financial money windfall is there. You're not chasing theoretical approaches to money. And people don't realize that these historically white conferences do not do a revenue share like the two HBCU conferences. Now, this is not to belabor the point and say that Hampton, North Carolina A&T, FAMU, or Bethune-Cookman made errors in judgments for their decision to move whatever the value that they saw in it. That is their right and independent framework to do it. But I think it is extremely disingenuous when you see other folks come back and say, yeah, we left, so y'all need to leave as well. That's not their decision. And you to say and suggest because you left and everything's falling apart, y'all got to leave too. It just doesn't add up to me when you really look at the facts. And I thought this statement was really clarifying in terms of what, at least at this point, what the presidents in terms of the MEAC are looking at. Last thing I'll drop a dime on is we forget is that they're no longer splitting the basketball money among 11, 12, 13 schools. Now they're splitting that basketball money between 8 schools, which means that slice of the pie has gotten bigger until they find somebody they can bring in to solidify and provide additional revenue sources. If you go to another conference, we talk about going in football, but people don't even look at basketball. All those other conferences that we talk about in that area, CIAA, the Big South, the Southern Conference, they all have like 12 basketball members. So now you're ballooning that to 13, 14 members. That slice of pie from the basketball money, because they're all one big league. Let's get that clear. They're all one big league. They're going to get one bid, which means they only get one slice of the pie to get it done. Yep. That doesn't change. So with that being said, let's take our break. We'll get back into it. We'll go into a little more of the sporting context. We'll go into the marching sport, give you your top 10. Not a lot of changes, some different rankings in terms of wins and losses, so we can't talk about that. But we have some big matchups coming up this weekend that we can get into as well. So we'll be right back after this break. We'll get back into it. We'll get into the poll top 10 marching sport. And it looks like Charles may have some things to say that maybe there should be some changes. So stick around. Let's bring it up and see what happens next. We'll be right back after this break.
This is Carlos Brown, letting you know that we're on the move. You can now catch the Carlos Brown Show beginning this July on the Black College Sports Network each and every Saturday from 11 to 1 Eastern Time. That's 10 to 12 Central Time. Same time, new place. On Facebook at the Carlos Brown Show and Black College Sports Network. Online at www.mybcsn.net and on the BCSN app available on Google Play and the Apple App Store.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival. This is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together we can be the change.
Sugar Chateau Desserts is a specialty bakery located in the Charlotte, North Carolina metro area. We will create delicious and one-of-a-kind treats for any occasion. Sugar Chateau is currently shipping cakes in a jar, offering a variety of different flavors in a single-serve container that can help you celebrate in accordance with social distancing. Place your orders today by calling 803-526-7895 or visiting sugarchateaudesserts.com.
Are you hungry for
Test the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna loud and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gonna teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill with Inside HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. We have Professor Fulford joining us today, sitting in for Mike Washington. We're gonna get into our Week 9 marching sport ranking. Let's get into the top 10 and jump right into it. As I said, we'll see if there's any changes. North Carolina A&T Blue and Gold Marching Machine 1-1 on the season. With 13 points. They stay at number 10. And number 9, Alabama State Mighty Marching Hornets, 3-2. They did win the Magic City Classic as they got it done against Alabama A&M, or at least from my voters as they did it. They have 20 points. They stay at number 9, although they got the win. The number 8, Alcorn State, the Sounds of Dynamite, took on Southern, closer than many people thought. That's why they stayed at number 8, but they did drop an L, 3-1, 2-1. I think Charles may have some comments on that. At number 7, Kentucky State, Mighty Marching Thoroughbreds band. They did not have a band contest this week, if you would. 4-0, 2-0, so they stay right where they are at number 6. The number 6, Prairie View A&M, the Marching Storm, just like the football team, they had a bye weekend, 2-1 on the season, still recovering from that loss that they took down in Baton Rouge, although the football team represented themselves well. That one was a close one as well. It looks like Southern is getting closer to the edge. Can they hold on? We'll see. Let's get in the top 5. We get a change in the guard. We get a little mix in here. We got the MEAC. Norfolk State, the Spartan Legion marching band, quietly getting it done, 3-1, 1-0, 67 points. Remaining at number 5, people said they're one of the best kept secrets out there. They keep doing it. They won't be a secret for long. And number 4, Bethune-Cookman, the marching Wildcats, 2-0, 70 points, ranked 4. Again, they have a matchup. When they're going to get back out there, it's going to be troubling for they're going to stay in the top 5 with just a 2-0 record. They got to have a contest against somebody. Southern Human Jukebox, 5-0. They got the win. It was close, another close one. 2 first-place votes, 82 points, ranked number 3. Bring us to Jackson State, the Sonic Boom of the South, 5-1. That loss came early. They opened the season. They just hanging on 2 first-place votes, 83. Can they overcome it? Well, you do have a top 3 matchup. You have the number 1 Florida A&M in the Marching 100. We have now heard, we told you all here, that they were coming to Baton Rouge. They're going to the Bluff, 4-0, putting their undefeated record on the table, on the road, for first place to take on Southern, the Human Jukebox. It should be interesting. Remember, the difference in this is not how many people going to vote for Marches 100 or going to vote for the Human Jukebox. This resolute. We're going to have folks there watching this, some live, some on the television, and they will vote and they will record. One will win, which means one will lose. You'll get a W and you will get an L. Somebody will re-record it. So somebody's undefeated Marching Storm season is on the line. There are no ties in the marching sport for HBCU. If you didn't know that, you heard it here first. With that, Bryan, since you're the guest, I'm going to let you go first. What do you say about the top 10 ranking? This is your first time getting to speak about it on the show. No changes, but it's enough for you to tell me, what do you think this week in week number 9 for the HBCU marching sport?
Well, the one thing that stands out that I can kind of smile about is, regardless of the outcome, Jackson State will still be number 2 at the end of this weekend. Because, I mean, look, it is what it is. Because if by some odd chance, like, you know, Southern does pull off the upset, well, instantly what? They're going to become number 1. Let's keep it real. But if what happens in the Bluff, as it happened the last time the 100 went to Southern, it's been a long time. I believe it was 2000. They sent the Cats back with the tail between their legs. And so I really expect the 100 to get another win. They didn't get a chance to show out and show off against an opponent last week, obviously with the tragic news that happened for Grambling State's band. So they're itching to go. I mean, they got field turf on the patch. They've been warming up and practicing. I mean, they're going to skin some cats this weekend. That's all I'm going to tell you. It's going to be a bloodbath. It's a bloodbath in the Southern. Just, you know, that's how I see it.
Yeah. Not too much blood, though. Not too much blood.
No, just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Snake bite.
Yeah.
Hey,
that's all it takes. That's all it takes is a little bit.
That's it.
That should be a fun battle, Marching 100 and the Human Jukebox. Let me tell you something, Doc. My band experts, they've reached out to me and they, you know, really analyzed that 5th quarter with Alcorn and the Human Jukebox, Alcorn and Southern, and they gave some serious kudos to the Sounds of Dynamite being able to hang with the jukebox. So we'll see, can the Southern Human Jukebox take it up a notch this weekend for the March 100, because I think Sounds of Dynamite kind of caught them off guard a little bit. Had some tremendous arrangements, and I have to bring on James Lesby and Ty Crenshaw to help them for them to explain there is a complete strategy to either zero quarter, fifth quarter.
Let's do this, Charles. Yeah. Let's schedule them for next Thursday.
Okay.
At least for this segment, and I'll work to bring them in, and we'll spend a quick moment to talk about any updates to the poll, and then we'll spend the rest of that segment with them breaking down the framework of what it comes into the show. And I think it's the perfect time because we have a top 3 matchup. Yeah. And somebody has to go with the L. Yep. So we're going to talk about that, what that looks like. I want to shout out all the VPs of athletics and athletic directors that are down there supporting their women's soccer program as we have soccer going down at Prairie View A&M University on the campus. Dr. Travion Scott sent me a picture, just let me know what's going on. He said it is cold out there, but they playing soccer and they are getting it done. So Dr. Cable is around the area as the Alabama State Hornets are coming down to play Prairie View for homecoming. So he's around there. I know Ashley Robinson's probably in around the area, even if he's coming back for the game. You know, he's going to get around and make sure he supports his program. You got Kevin Granger, soon to be Dr. Kevin Granger down there as well, making sure he supports his team. So it's really interesting to see who comes out, you know, going into it, co-champions for the regular season between Alabama A&M and Prairie View A&M. So the 2 ag schools got it done on the women's side of soccer. So it'll be interesting. And next up in a couple of weeks, we'll have volleyball. And then we'll bring in that battle between FAMU and Jackson, who seem to be running away with it. So we'll see if it comes down to that. That could be interesting. Hopefully they'll fall in that 1 and 2 spot, which means if they can get all the way to the end, we could have a classic matchup as they split on each other's court. Won the opening season with Jackson State over FAMU, and then FAMU paid them back just a week ago, if you would, on their home court with FAMU getting it done against Jackson State. But it'll be interesting. A couple of other folks like Pine Bluff, they in the mix. They said, why not so fast? We want to get a piece of that. And they just won the one last year as well. So it'll be fascinating to see how that goes. But with that being said, any final thoughts in terms of what we could see down on the Bluff or some other key matchups we see with bands? There's heard that there potentially is the Alabama State is coming to Prairie View. If that's a matchup, that'll be significant. Alabama State has shown, the Marching Hornets has shown that they can hold their own. Long road trip, but I'm sure they will be focused, especially for homecoming. Marching Storms don't want to lose that home field advantage, but they better be prepared because they can get it. You talk about what goes on with the Hornets. So that'll be fascinating to see if that comes to fruition. But this week, it's going to get really intriguing in terms of this marching sport. Any final thoughts, Charles?
Oh, that'll be a fun matchup with Alabama State. They make the trip over to Prairie View. Alabama State, I thought for themselves tremendous when they played Jackson State, went head-to-head with the Sonic Boom. Tremendous arrangements, sound. So that would be a good one. 2 big bands, Alabama State and the Marching Storm. Marching Storm have been in the top 10 pretty much all season. And then the Mighty Marching Hornets, I just love their marching style. I love watching them come into the stadium with that little drum cadence that they have. Really enjoy it. So that should be a fun one.
All right, let's get into it. Let's get into this break. We'll be right back after this halftime break. We'll be back with the second half of the show. We'll get into some of the on-field battles going on this week. We'll look into some of the independent matchups. We'll look into a classic matchup. And then we'll start talking about some of these other SWAC games and just get back into it. We'll get Professor Fulford start on that. He wasn't with us Tuesday, so we have to give him a chance to talk about that FAMU Southern matchup to see what he thinks could take place in that game. But stick with us because we're going to talk a lot more football when we get back. Time to get into the action with some of these games of the weeks. We'll be right back.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food? Like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
Oh, we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant. Authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door. Tell your mama hungry.
This is Bryan Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. The analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna love, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Yes, let's see what goes on with the clicking and clacking of the helmets on the field. Let's go to the HBCU mid-major classic game of the week. It's in Georgia, Columbus, Georgia, that is, A.G. McClung Memorial Stadium, Fountain City Classic, SIAC, Saturday, November 6th, 1 o'clock Central Time, ESPN+. Number 2, Albany State Golden Rams, 8-1, 5-0 in the conference. They've already locked up the SIAC. What do they have to play for? Well, it's their rival, Fort Valley State Wildcats, 5-4, 3-2. Can Fort Valley Wildcats save the season, make a statement? Or will Golden Rams keep just trucking along? Let me stick with you, Charles Bishop. Professor Bishop, what are your thoughts in terms of this SIAC matchup?
I think Albany State is simply just one of the most balanced teams in the SIAC. It's going to be tough for Fort Valley to get this win. They've been up and down this season. I think Albany State has stayed consistent. There's a reason why they'll be representing in SIAC championship. So look at Albany State to get the win.
Yeah, did they win big, or they just continue to show out on their defensive side? You do have the factor that you feel they're going to be charged up with the loss of their teammate. I wanted to make sure that we continue to say prayers for that family. Professor Fulford, do you think that makes any framing in this matchup?
Yeah, look, you caught me off guard. I did not. I got to be honest. I did not know that had happened.
Yeah, they lost a linebacker.
Yeah.
Who was tragically hit by a bus and killed as he was on his way to practice. And so certainly wanted to make sure we keep him out there in the prayers in terms of what's going on. And that was.
Did that happen this week?
Baltimore Aldine Butler, and that happened Monday. So it literally just happened. But in terms of that, you can talk about the matchup, and then we'll come back and kind of get you to come to terms with that, because I know there's emotional hearing that as we heard it and brought it on the show that Tuesday. It was really devastating to hear it in a lot of ways. So I can imagine for the first time, a lot of things going on. So I hadn't heard that. But in terms of the matchup, regardless of that, what were your thoughts in terms of the Fountain City Classic?
Well, I think Albany State is one of the most impressive defenses in Black college football, might even be in Division II football. This news, I mean, obviously it may sound cliche, but obviously this can go one of two ways. You have that whole rally around each other, my brother, which is important for this weekend. There may be a rallying around each other. It may be more interesting to see what happens the next week or the week after, meaning I don't think there's a bye week before that championship. So when you get past the shock and then sadly have to deal with the funeral and accepting the loss that he is not coming back. That where young people's minds are. I mean, I just, for example, just heard a player talking about the news that recently affected to Las Vegas Raiders and how that tragedy may affect them, and that those young men are, I mean, not too far off in age from these young college men. And so the framework was, hey, the stuff that happened with the coach and all that, man, that was nothing. But this hits home. So it hits closer when it's one of your peers, your brother, somebody in the locker room, and this kind of tragedy, it'll be real important or interesting to see how they handle this. I mean, from a game perspective, I expect Albany State to pitch a shutout. I mean, that's what they do. I mean, I think the wake-up call was what Morehouse did. Morehouse got 10 points. Yeah. Morehouse got 10 points. I know guys are looking around like, how'd they get 10 points on us? That was the wake-up call, Right. So I expect them to go out and play for their brother and get a shutout, or at least they're going to try their hardest to get a shutout.
Point well said in terms of that framing. I really appreciate you bringing that up. Let's move on to Langston, Oklahoma. W.E. Anderson Stadium, SIAC, Sooner Athletic Conference, Saturday again, November 6th. This one is at 2 o'clock Central Standard Time. Arizona Christian Firestorm, 6-2, 5-2 in the conference. Number 4 Langston Lions in the mid-major conference is 7-1, 6-1, top 25 team. They need this game to finish off the season and win the conference. They also need this in terms of making a closing statement for the playoffs. This is an extremely important game. Arizona Christian is right in the mix also to see if they can get a share of the conference. So this is a big matchup. The big thing is they have it at home. They're going to bounce back in terms of having that loss last week. But I'm going to stick with you, Professor Fulford. What are your thoughts in terms of this NIA matchup? Arizona Christian Firestorm against the number 4 ranked Langston Lions. Falling from number 1 last weekend, can they rebound?
Falling from number 1, falling out of the top 10 in the national polls, all the analytic rankings and things that I kind of pay attention to, they dropped significantly after that loss. And I mean, when you go back and look at how they lost, you're just scratching their head like, unbelievable. You get this long drive, you get a stop, and then somebody makes a penalty, and after the penalty, they come and score 2 plays later. So, I mean, you almost escaped with a victory, and then you blew it. So I think the focus will be really high for Langston. But like you said, they got to go out and prove it now. They have to go back out and almost show everybody again that everything that we had done up to last week was not a fluke. It was real. And so they got to go back and get their respect. That's what they really have to do. Go back and get their respect. Earn it.
Charles, same question to you. Fulford brings up some important points contextually. What is on the line in your mind for this matchup? And can Langston rebound? Because you got to remember, this is a young team and they were ahead of schedule. How much will that affect the team that is young in nature, thinking they had so much on the line? And although they still have it, can they emotionally get back up as compared if you had a more seasoned senior-led team? What are your thoughts in terms of this matchup? It's fascinating to me in so many different ways.
Yeah, I think that's the $1,000,000 question, especially when you have a young team. Can they mentally get themselves back up to play this tough Arizona Christian team, a team that comes in 6-2? Inexplicable loss last week, and like Bryan said, they have their backs up against the wall, and they're not only playing for respect, but got to get this W in there in the worst way. Looking for Devin Duracell on the defensive side of the ball to really fly around like he was last week. 12 tackles last week for Langston. They were going to really need a strong defensive effort to hold off this Arizona Christian team. Langston got a whole serve at home.
Points made by both of y'all. I love the way you got into it. Hopefully folks are a little more on point in terms of Langston University. Yes, they dropped out of the number 1 spot, but they're a solid team, solid in the top 5, and they have a chance to make a statement. That's the program that you want to watch at the NIA level if you're a supporter of HBCU programs to see what they can do in terms of the playoffs. They need to win to make sure they get in. They should be in regardless, but you know how things happen, especially if you have 2 losses in a row at home. They need to win. We'll take our last break. We'll get back into the major division game of the week in terms of classic / homecoming, and then we'll get into some independent non-conference. We may flip it around. We'll have some other things that we'll talk about in terms of those SWAC MEAC matchups. We'll give you some additional points to take with us. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this break, and we're into the fourth quarter. It should be good. Stick around. We got much more on the field play to talk about. HBCU Major Division up next.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High-quality cigars plus personal customer service with Slow Burn. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. It's more than a mobile lounge. It's an environment and an experience rich in history, luxury, and personality. An elegant extension of any celebration occasion. It's the perfect escape and meeting place, a space where you can relax or enjoy a shared passion. Have Slow Burn plan your next big event, or before you are planning to celebrate your win over your athletic rival, you can shop our collections at www.slowburnwaco.com.
But if they want, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties. Through its programs, Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentjax.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna loud, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside HBCU Sports Lab. We have Professor Fulford, Professor Bishop, visiting professor in the house, clinical Professor Bishop doing his thing as always. Let's start with the independent matchup, non-conference major division game of the week. Tennessee State, they're hot. They done snuck in the top 5 off the starting the season pretty slow. They've won a couple of games. They're 5-3 overall on the season. One more win and they'll have a winning record. 3-1 in the conference race. More important than them, they win another one, they're going to be in the race of trying to win the OVC. That's interesting. They're on the road though. Martin, Tennessee, because they're playing Tennessee at Martin. 7-1, 3-0 in the OVC. This should be interesting. We get to find out, can Tennessee State take that next step to really be in contention? They got everybody feeling good. And we haven't talked about Tennessee State this late in the season in quite a long while. But it is here now. Charles Bishop, you've seen Tennessee State up and close against Jackson State in the Southern Heritage Classic. You talked about how well they played in that first half. Jackson State was able to turn it on. Are you surprised by this? Or is this Tennessee State team for real? What is your expectation in this matchup?
This is a good football team, and I think they're good because Jeremy Hickbottom is playing phenomenal football. When you take a look at what he's been able to do with that Tennessee State offense, it has been a night and day, Jeremy Hickbottom, from the time that he was at Grambling. He is one of the top quarterbacks in the OVC. When you take a look at his passing efficiency rating is, I think, one of the best in the conference, things of that nature. But he really has this Tennessee State offense humming, and they're going against a UT Martin defense that's not great at stopping the pass. Tennessee State is averaging over 200 yards a game passing football. I think their bread and butter still is Devon Starling. He's one of the better running backs in the OVC. This is going to be a tremendous matchup. I think it comes down to, can this top-ranked Tennessee State defense in the OVC, can they stop this rushing attack that UT Martin presents? So I think it's a tremendous battle of wills, but I really do like Tennessee State going on the road, getting this W.
Oh, wow. That will be a major statement.
Yeah.
Professor Fulford, what are your thoughts on this matchup? Tennessee State for real?
I agree with Charles. I mean, even though Tennessee State is the second hottest team in the OVC behind this Tennessee Martin team, which has won 7 in a row. That's the crazy part, right? They're the second hottest team. But what they have done in these wins has been Jeremy Hickbottom has led some game-winning drives. So close games, tie games, down. He's led some game-winning drives, and I'm happy to see he's doing what he's doing. You know, here's what's interesting is Hickbottom almost went to, if I'm not mistaken, Bethune.
That's right. You know, he had first committed to Bethune-Cookman, decommitted, and ended up in Tennessee State. So you're on it again.
Yeah. So if you think about how fortunes have turned from one program to another, right? I mean, he went for a fresh start in the OVC. And look, he gets it. Now, look, they haven't beaten Tennessee Martin up there in Martin, Tennessee in like the last 3 trips. But, hey, look, that was a different administration. This is the George administration, and Eddie George comes in with Hickbottom running the show. I predict I think another game-winning drive, something like a 24-21 last drive by Hickbottom. He does it again.
Doc, Hick only has 3 interceptions on the year. He's protecting the football. It's something that, you know, we didn't see at Grambling, but he's doing a tremendous job. He's taken to Hugh Jackson's coaching tremendously up there at Tennessee State.
Yep.
Yeah, great points. And the coaching staff are really talking about him really well in terms of how much he is doing the things they need to get done. And that's a positive thing. After seeing a player, you know, in some ways hit rock bottom and finding a way to rebound, credit to Hickbottom in terms of what he's able to do. With that, let's go to our homecoming game of the week. We don't have a classic game, so we're going to switch it for a homecoming game. We're going to go into the SWAC, Prairie View, Texas, Panther Stadium, Saturday again, November 6th. This is a 2:00 game. It will be on ESPN 3. Alabama State Hornets 3-4, 2-3. You've heard by now Dr. Healy is out, but the team will continue to play. They hit the road, long road trip. They go to number 2, Prairie View A&M. Panthers 6-1, 5-0, trying to stay ahead of the race. Big matchup. Do they look ahead? They have Alcorn next week where they can make their major statement. They're coming off of a bye week. Are they going to be ready for this matchup? Sticking with you, Charles, what are your thoughts in terms of what's going on as we go into the SWAC?
Here's the scary thing about this game. They can't get caught looking ahead to Alcorn. A lot of people around the SWAC know that it's going to be for all the marbles in the SWAC West, if you will, but you can't get caught looking ahead. Alabama State has made this coaching change, and Travis Pearson is well regarded around the Southwestern Athletic Conference coaching circles as being a firebrand. He's going to have this Alabama State team up. We saw Ezra Gray. It looks like he kind of got back in the groove a little bit last week, 12 rushes for 91 yards. So the question becomes, can Alabama State keep this Prairie View offense off the field? Prairie View is second in the conference in terms of offense. So can Alabama State run the ball effectively? Can they run the ball against this number 7 defense in the nation? So Prairie View is playing some really good football over there. It's going to be real tough for Alabama State to get the win.
You just had the data points, as Mike would say, or as I'd say, statistics in terms of the data analytics. Professor Fulford, what do you say about this matchup?
I don't mess with the data. I don't mess with the numbers. Numbers never lie. Numbers never lie. So, I mean, look, you got the second best offense in the SWAC, the number 3 defense, the Prairie View. I mean, they should not stumble here. I mean, they had a bye. That's another good thing. I think that you can, even though they had the awkward bye right after 2 or 3 weeks of having another bye, it's a good place for them to be to refocus. It's a good start to the last quarter of their season. Start with homecoming, start with this game, and then finish it on out. So I'm looking for a little dominance. Jawan Pass should be able to have a good game by maybe a 3 or 4 touchdown day, and then pack them up, send them home, and get ready to travel out to Alcorn.
Hashtag protect your homecoming.
Protect your homecoming.
Homecoming.
Chad Cooper says as well, Bama State is a dangerous team. Nothing to lose. Just fired coach. Potential track game for PV. You said it as well, but now it's time for the mass. 2ttickets.com. I know some of y'all vaccinated, some of y'all hearing the numbers go down, but you still need to be safe for those that are not. I say wear the mask, especially if you can get them designer. So who you got? Starting with you, Fulford, Prairie View, or Alabama State? You got to make the call. Which mask is going on?
Oh, Prairie View.
I drop it. Drop Alabama State, Prairie View mask. Charles, do you tell me to keep it on, or you ask me to drop it off?
Go ahead and keep it on, Dr. Bill. Too much Juwan Pass and Lademian Brooks. I think Prairie View is on to something special.
No doubt about it. Well, let's get some bonus coverage in. We're going to stay in the state of Texas, but we're going to go into where they do the pregame show. So we got Texas Southern going into Jackson. That's the #1 team. Still questions a little bit about Coach Prime, hearing that he is getting better. He is fine. Do not worry. Keep the prayers coming. We do understand that, and we certainly are praying for the nation in terms of what we do, and Coach Prime would want that, but nothing to be worried about. And it seems like they just keep doing what they do. So what are your thoughts in terms of this, in terms of two freshman phenoms in a lot of ways coming in this matchup? I think it's a beautiful thing. We have Shedeur Sanders. I started to call him his brother's name. I don't know why I want to do that on the safety side. He's doing his thing as well, but we looking at the freshman quarterback. And then Andrew Body getting it done. Shedeur came out the gate, started out a little slow, but he had the command, and now he's showing off. But we certainly seen on the other side, major upset with Andrew Body over Southern University, and then they were able to get another big win last week at home. Fulford, what are your thoughts, Professor Fulford, on the freshmen coming in this matchup, both in terms of the game, particularly looking at the two freshman quarterbacks?
I think this is a good opportunity to buy into Coach McKinney and his concepts and his play calling or his defensive philosophy, because if he can find a way to set up his offense to have some success early, and then most importantly, coming out of halftime, that's where Jackson State seems to catch people, coming out of halftime. I mean, Charles can probably break it down. I don't know what kind of magic elixir they drinking in the locker room at halftime, but
he in there. He in there.
But that is where, honestly, in all honesty, that is where Jackson State really shows their mettle coming out. Texas Southern may be in the ball game, may be around in the first half, but what are you going to do coming out of halftime? Can Coach McKinney and the coaching staff keep them in the game coming out of halftime and in that third quarter? That'll be interesting to see. That's what I'm looking for. Not expecting a win. I want to see it be competitive, and that'll tell me a lot about Texas Southern and their future.
So you say put down the Texas Southern mask, keep up Jackson State?
Yeah, I hate to say it, but you got to keep up the Jackson State mask.
Well, I'll put it on now because I know what Charles going. No, go ahead, Charles. Break it down. I'm not going to do that to you.
No, I think it's an intriguing matchup. Like you mentioned, two freshman phenoms, Andrew Body and Shedeur Sanders. When you take a look at Andrew Body, what he's been able to do since he took over in the Rice game, he has turned around the fortunes of Texas Southern football, and they have talent on the offensive side of the ball. When you talk about Keelan Davis, he's the #2 receiver in the SWAC, and Jairo Johnson. These guys can straight go get it. But Andrew Body does lead Texas Southern in rushing. So I think that's something that you kind of have to keep in mind. He's a dual threat quarterback. But these sorts of pass first teams, it plays into Jackson State's hands. You're talking about a team that's ranked #1 in the nation in sacks, 38 sacks thus far over 8 games. They had 5.5 last week against Mississippi Valley. What they do is get after the quarterback, and I don't expect anything different in this game. And the question for Jackson State is, can they come out the gates fast? They have sort of slumbered, if you will, through the first half, and it's the gift and the curse of the swagger of Jackson State is they feel as always they can just turn it up a notch, and normally they do. Anytime we saw Valley punch hard, last week, Jackson State just punched back even harder. So that's basically how we've seen Jackson State react over the past 2 weeks with Bethune-Cookman and Mississippi Valley. So it'll be really interesting to see can Jackson State come out the gates fast. I think if they come out the gates fast, they'll be in great shape. But this coaching staff just does a tremendous job in making in-game adjustments to counter whatever they see going on the field. And definitely after halftime, Jackson State seems to turn it on.
Point well taken. I believe that you're saying keep on the Jackson State mask. With that being
Very much
said,
so.
Fulford, Professor Fulford, let's go for you in terms of this last breakdown we'll do, which is FAMU at Southern. Charles had a chance to do it on Tuesday. So I want you to get a chance and talk about going on the road. We talked about a homecoming game. FAMU is coming off a homecoming game. Little other stuff going on there. We might talk about that a little later. A lot of stuff going on. Not sure how many teams are going to want to go to FAMU for homecoming because a lot of distractions. Some people say maybe too much in terms of a little more policing on the sideline. But besides that, let's get into the action. FAMU at Southern. Southern got a big win, major upset in many people's framework, at least according to the rankings. Southern over Alcorn last week. Now they have another team coming here, a top 3 team coming in the house on the opposite side of the division. Used to be an intra-conference rivalry game between MEAC and SWAC. Now it's a conference game, divisional matchup. What are your thoughts? I think the divisional matchup is something like 4 wins for the West, 2 in the East. Does the East come back and make a statement, or does the West continue to roll? What do you look at in this matchup between FAMU and Southern? 6-2, 4-4, 2 top 10 teams coming in, 3 versus 8.
You know what's interesting? First off, this is one of the. I think this is the second of 3 weekends where all 6 SWAC games are happening. All 12 teams are playing each other, and it just so happens this is the only matchup where you have 2 500 or better teams playing each other. So that should be highlighted first and foremost. But when I look at Southern, this is a win a game, lose a game. Well, actually, I should start it the other way. Lose a game, win a game, lose a game, win a game. I mean, it's back and forth. So the lack of consistency has not been there for Southern. That gives me a little bit of confidence of what FAMU can do. I also think the 2 last road trips by FAMU, I think, were nice wake-up calls. They were good wake-up calls to take those long road trips. I believe Baton Rouge is a little bit closer than at least the Itabena trip. So that helps. But the fact that you've been on the road now and you've had to overcome adversity in both instances, I think that's going to be a positive for Florida A&M this weekend. I just don't know how Southern – look, I know Southern's running attack is heralded and everything is pretty good, but did we not see what Prairie View did to that? Now, Prairie View has a good defense, right? Well, they're about to play, quote unquote, by the stats, by the data, 2 better defenses. That run's gonna get shut down. I mean, now I firmly believe that run's gonna get shut down. And so, how's Southern gonna score? I mean, look, if it happens in the air, I'll be shocked, but I think that's the advantage FAMU has. As long as FAMU doesn't, look, it sounds cliche, as long as they don't turn the ball over, the officiating doesn't somehow turn south on them, or other craziness happens, all of a sudden the bleachers move a little bit closer to the sidelines, and Southern's come with their own distraction committee. As long as that kind of stuff doesn't happen, I'm looking at like at least a 3-touchdown win by FAMU. I'm sorry.
Wow. So you say put on the FAMU mask. Charles, I know you don't have to break it down. You did that on Tuesday, but do I keep on the FAMU mask, or you got me putting on the Southern mask? What you got?
The $1 million question is, can Glendon Bubba McDaniel, can he not make those killer mistakes in this game? Because I think if Southern commits to the run, and just stays with it, I think you have a tendency to wear down teams. And here's the thing about playing in Baton Rouge at night, and I give credit to the Human Jukebox on this. They keep not only the fans engaged, but they keep that football team engaged. And if Southern is close, be careful in the fourth quarter. That is a scary environment.
Who you got, Charles? Who you got? You're going both ways. Who you got?
I gotta go FAMU in that defense. Gotta go FAMU in that defense.
I like
defense travels. Defense
Jamie
travels.
O'Walker says this one is tough. I'm going Southern. I think they want to get back. Chad Cooper said SU is consistently inconsistent this season. Belinda Johnson talked about TSU. Thaddeus Reed says FAMU will lose. They should have lost to Valley. Ooh, different game. Scotlandville, you gonna skin you legless lizards. Michael Lee, I'm taking all bets that FAMU doesn't shut us down. Money, make it easy on yourself. So those are a couple of comments there. Michael D. Jones says, didn't Valley put 30 points on FAMU defense? What is he talking about? Oh, wow. People forget that matchups are independent of matchup. You got to be careful about looking at the matchup, not just the score. With that being said, rapid fire before we get out of here. Real quick, don't break down. Just tell me who you got. You got Alcorn at Bethune-Cookman. Does Alcorn rebound from their loss? Does Bethune-Cookman get off the snide? Who you got in this matchup?
Alcorn.
In terms of Mississippi Valley taking on Grambling, that matchup there, who you got, Valley? In terms of, Alabama A&M, who you got in that matchup there? Let me see if I can find my other one. I'm digging around here. Oh, where'd they go? Where'd they go? Yep. Who you got, Valley, Alabama A&M?
A&M.
Fulford?
Yeah, I think A&M. But hey, can I go back one? I got to get on the Wildcats, man. I got to go with the Wildcats.
Oh, you got the Wildcats. I'm sorry. Give me your Wildcats. I'm sorry. You're right.
We need them to get a win. So I got to root for the Wildcats. We need a win. We can't let them be winless and going into the last game of the season.
I feel you all on that one.
Go Wildcats.
Now we got the last one here. Pine Bluff and the G. Who you got?
Ooh.
Pine Bluff, do they get off the snide?
Yeah, give me Pine Bluff.
Play?
Give me Pine Bluff at home.
I'm going Grambling by 45.
Oh, man, that's a nice one. Let's get in there. We got Chivalry's Not Dead in terms of both conferences. MEAC, quickly get in here. You got Morgan State up over Delaware State. Shockingly, Morgan State might get their first win. They're up 13-0. Delaware State has the ball. 6 minutes left in the first quarter. Second and 8. Morgan State on the 43. That's on ESPN2. Check it out. Norfolk State at North Carolina Central. Who you got quickly? Norfolk State and Central. Professor Fuller, who you got in that matchup?
Spartan up.
Charles?
Behold the green and gold.
Howard at South Carolina State. Who you got?
South Carolina State.
Yeah.
Got you, both of y'all. We got Garner Webb 3-5 against Hampton 3-5. Independent matchup. Who you got in that matchup? Charles?
Give me the Pirates.
Fulford?
Hampton.
A&T is on the road at Charleston Southern. A&T 3-5. Charleston Southern 3-4. Sticking with you, Fulford. Aggies. You got Charleston Southern.
Charleston Southern. The wheels have fallen off that Aggie mobile.
Ooh-wee. It's rolling down the wheel, Charles. Is it falling off? Or can they ride it?
It's falling off. I got to go Charleston Southern on that too.
Ooh, it's going to get ugly. It's going to get ugly in Greensboro, no matter what happened at the G-Ho, as they like to call it. With that, let's shut it down. This is Dr. Ville inside HBCU Sports Lab. I hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you for listening to Inside HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. We hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you for coming on Fulford. Make sure you check out ONG as well as Sports Rap. Downloading my JBN, my BCSN. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Ville's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock. You know, we do it on the re-wrap on Sunday. Check us out at 9 a.m. before you head to church. We look forward to next week as we discuss the latest in the news. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, DrKenyattacavil on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's DrKenyattacavil. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube is Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you subscribe and like. Time for the quiz. I'm going to sneak over here. As you see, I got my vest on, Charles, trying to do it nice, taking it up a level. It's a little cold, but I'm going to sneak over here and see this exhibition game with Texas Southern. I'll tell you a little bit more about the basketball side next week. We'll get into a little bit as we start changing out football to basketball. But as we say, quiz time. Dream big, continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Bryan?
Of course.
Charles?
Lecture.
Dismissed. He passed the test. Good job.